We're going to be talking a little bit today about how to use sort of the built-in photo editing tools on your phone. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what you can do with that. We're not going to get into super complicated stuff, but just sort of tips and tricks you can use that should already be part of your phone system. We're going to sort of focus on Android, but a lot of these settings and tips will work also on iPhone. So just keep that in mind. Everyone should have built into their phone a camera and a gallery, right? So you have the thing to take pictures, the camera to take pictures, and the gallery where they end up. So what we're going to be utilizing today is we're going to take a picture from our gallery and just look at some of the things that we can do to edit it, okay? So I have a picture already picked out, and I'm going to go into my gallery. So my gallery looks like this right here. It's this it looks a little like a flower almost. And I just recently updated it. So I think my the little icon for mine might look a little different than yours, but just look for where your gallery or your pictures are. If it's an iPhone, it'll be pictures. So just go ahead and click on that. So this is the picture I picked out to sort of show to you. So this is our cat, Bunny Boy. And we're going to use this picture to sort of illustrate some of the things you can do here. So there are settings that you can put on your phone before you take a picture to sort of, set up how the picture is going to look. What we're dealing with right now is more the after effects that we're putting on these pictures. So the things that we're doing in order to edit them after the fact, okay? So one thing I want to just tell you too is that if you're not somebody that regularly does updates on your phone, like so when your phone tells you, you have an update for this and that. If you don't usually do that, you might want to go ahead and check that you've got the most updated version of your gallery, because that will make sure that you have all the features that are currently available to you. In order to do that, you're gonna go back to your gallery first and go to where these three lines are. And I want you to go to settings and just scroll down to where it says about gallery. So if you click there, it should tell you what version you're running and if there are any updates. So I'm on the current version, so it's not telling me that there are any updates. But if you haven't updated stuff in a while, you might want to go in there and check that out, because there will be features available to you in newer versions that aren't available in other ones. So if you are in your gallery and you don't see some of the things that I'm doing, just double check that you've got the latest version installed, okay? All right. We're going to go back to our picture. So I'm going to show you this too. I actually put that picture in favorites. I put a heart on it. So if I touch these three lines at the bottom, I have this menu that comes up that has the favorites button, and I hit favorites. So it just makes it easier to find it when I need it, because I took this picture a while ago. So this means if I favorite it, then I don't have to go and scroll back, 2 weeks or whatever to where I actually took it. Okay. All right. So we got our picture to work with. I just want to show you a couple of the things that you can do right here directly in the gallery to edit this picture, okay? So in order to edit, you're going to click on this little thing right here that looks like a little tiny pencil. So that's your editing feature. So anything that you want to do to sort of change the look, change the shape, anything of that of this picture, you're going to go to that, okay? That's where most of those controls are going to be. So let's go ahead and click on that. Okay, and the first thing you'll see is that it gives you this view of your picture that's kind of like a grid, all right? So the first thing that it's sort of asking you if you want to do here with this grid is to crop the picture. And by crop, that means to sort of cut the edges. So maybe parts of it, you have parts of this picture that you don't really need as much, or like you want to really focus on one thing here. So it's relatively easy to do that. So like in this picture of Bunny Boy, let's say we have this brown area up at the front that's his bed, and we don't really need to focus on that. Like there's no reason why like when I took the picture, there's a lot of random bed in there that we don't necessarily need. So if I wanted to crop this so that the focus was more on Bunny Boy and less on the bed, what I would do is just what I'm doing right now is you just grab the bottom. In this case, it's going to be the bottom of the picture because I want to cut that off. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing on that bottom thing and pulling it up. You see that? So let's say I want like, I want to make it sort of even. I want like that much bed. All right. So I'm going to hit that. And maybe now too, I want a little bit less of the top of it just to make it look a little, balanced. So I'm going to pull down from the top. You see I'm doing that? I'm just doing this with my finger. Okay. All right. So we just cropped from the top and the bottom. All right. And so that gives us just like a little bit more like sort of close up of the picture. If you had, let's say, something in the background that you didn't need to have, or you had, just like a lot of times I end up with extra space around pictures, and this just makes it so you know what you're really focused on the thing that you're meant to be focused on. So once you do that, if you like it, you can hit save. And what that'll do is save a version of this picture. You'll still have the original that isn't cropped. It'll be saved in your pictures as well, but this will save a version of it that is cropped, okay? And if you go back to that, let me go back to that real quick. If you did crop it and you actually don't like the way you cropped it, you can always hit revert and it'll ask you to revert to the original. So what that'll do is go back to the one that you had before. So if you make a mistake, you can always revert to the original, or if you just look at it and decide you like the original better, you have it saved otherwise, but you can also revert from here. Okay, I'm not going to do that because I think I like the way I cropped it here. Another thing you can do, and I don't really know I'm not sure what the purpose is of this. I haven't had a reason to use it, but you may well, is you can sort of change the angle of it a little bit. So if something was crooked, like if you took a picture and it was a little bit crooked, you can realign it by just dragging along this thing at the bottom that looks like a compass or something. So you can change the angle of it if, somebody was like tilting their head, or if you had your camera sort of not straight on. I don't think I've ever used that, but just so you know. Okay, so you have crop. We're going to save our cropped one. Then we're going to go in and do some more edits. All right, so we're going to hit that edit button again. Let's see what these other ones are. Okay, so this one right here, this one that looks like a little loop, does what you might expect it does. So if you want to turn a picture so it's horizontal instead of vertical, you may have held your camera not the way that you wanted to or something like that. You can do it like that. You can keep flipping it if it's upside down. You can go all the way around. This one is, it's head on. It's the way we want it to be. So we don't need to do anything with that. We're going to hit revert for that. Oh, sorry, we went back to our crop. It's going to crop it again. That's a good lesson, actually. If you revert from one of those, it might go back to where you've done the changes before. So just make sure you're being conscious of what changes you've made in one sitting, right? You can always go back to the original, but it's easier if you just sort of do all of it at once. Okay, so that's to rotate your picture. This one right here, we're going to click on this. I'll show you what that is. So this is sort of funny too. It's like this flips it around. So it flips it sort of on its axis. Okay, so if you ever need to flip your picture, that's how you can do it. All right. And then this one's kind of helpful. This one in the middle where it says free, we're going to click that. What you can do with that is if you're somebody that uses a lot of social media, there are different formats. So like, okay, let's say, so the one-to-one is kind of like an Instagram picture. So we can see what that square would look like. So if we want, a real close up on Bunny Boy here, we could do that, right? This is just like the ratio. So look, if we do 3/4, or the ratio is 3 to 4, then we just sort of center it in whatever we need. There's that longer shot that is something that you would use maybe if you were using that as the background on your phone, because it's about the right dimensions for that. And then you have full, which is actually going to be that's full. That actually is the one that you would probably want to use on your screen because it's the full screen size. So if you put that as your background, it would be the right dimensions. And then generally, I think it's just on free, which means, you're taking the picture and it's just sort of showing up the size of your camera at that moment. All right. Okay, we're going to go back. We're going to save our We're just going to have a big picture of him for right now. So let's edit this again. That next one over on this line is a rotate tool. So you can rotate it sort of horizontally on its axis or vertically on its axis. So you see what's happening there? You sort of rotate it left to right, then you can rotate it up and down. So we could sort of zoom in on by, if you do too much of that, you're going to get your image sort of distorted. So I would advise against like going too crazy with that, because you know, it's like bunnies coming at you. But so if you see, wait, if we go back to that and do vertical, see, it gets a little squunched up. So be mindful of that. That's just a little, you know, trick there if you wanted a different angle. And then this last one we're going to click on is you can actually draw around the area that you want to keep here. If there's a clear shape on there, we don't have this on here, so we're not going to mess with this right now, but just so you know what that is, you can crop parts of it out if there's a really obvious sort of contrasted shape on there. Okay, so let's go down to this bottom one where there's 3 circles right here. And these you can just sort of play around with. Again, you can always revert to your initial one. So it's always helpful if you just sort of do this with your own pictures and see what you like the best, right? It's up to you. So what we have here, these are filters, and I'm sure you've seen these, like you can put a filter on a picture that makes it sort of look kind of dreamy, or like it's black and white, or it's maybe sharper of an image than it was otherwise. So these are just like, you know, sort of built-in things that you can do to modify your picture and see which version of it you like. Okay, so right now we're on just the original picture. We can go to auto, we can go to warm, cool. So there's just a whole bunch of different things. And you see they change the way each of them look. So this is sort of a matter of what you want it to look like. See, we got him in black and white. That one's a little bit dark. That's grayscale. So there's a lot of different options here. But then this little, you see this little sort of thing at the bottom here that you can drag back and forth. That's sort of like how strong the effect is. Okay, so let's say we have something like this warm effect. If we want it to be maybe not quite as warm, we can drag this down to like 50 or something. If we want to make the effect really strong, we can drag it up. And sometimes it's really sort of subtle, right? Sometimes like the difference between, you know, 50 and 100 doesn't look so big to us, but you can play around with that and see what you like. This auto one's not going to have that drag on there because it does it automatically. I think this automatic one is kind of dark. So I probably wouldn't use that one, but it's up to you, right? Let's go back to our original. So that was our original. So if we wanted let's say we wanted just a little bit warmer. So give him a little bit of warmth there. We're just gonna do that. We'll hit save on that, okay? So that's what we've got right now. So let's go back into edit again. Remember, whenever you want to edit, just go into that pencil. All right, so we did that. This one that looks like a sun down at the bottom, these are some effects too that it's, again, just mess around with them and see what works for you, what makes your picture look the way that you want it to. So the light balance is like how light or dark it is, right? Each of these is going to be sort of somehow controlling the light in the picture. That's what these settings are about, okay? So it's like either it's the balance, or it could be how bright the thing is overall, the picture is overall, what the exposure is like. So that would make like if you up the exposure, it's going to be a little washed out. I mean, on this one, at least, if you underexpose something and up the exposure, it would probably look right. But then if you go down, it'll be like a bit sort of darker. So you can mess around with these, contrast, all different light, shadows. Saturation is sort of like how much color it's kind of how much color is in each of the colors you see. So it's like if you saturate something, it gets very sort of deeply colored. If you unsaturate something, it gets grayer. So these are just ones to play around with, like I'm saying. I'm going to go ahead and go back to, I'm going to discard my changes. So I'm not going to do anything with light quite yet. All right. And then I just want to show you, this one's just sort of a fun one. So if you see this smiley face at the end here, you can draw, you can write stuff, you can put a little sticker on there. Let's say we want to say, oh, funny, heart eyes. So this is just like, you know, if you want to share something with somebody and you want to make it cute, if you want to take that off, there's a little negative sign at the top. You can just delete it. So let's say we have text. It gives you different fonts you can use. I could say bunny boy. So there's all sorts of things you can do. And this is, again, this is just from and you can move this around once you've done it. You can do this, all of this from the gallery on your phone. So this is, you know, there's a lot of tools that are just built in. I know there are lots and lots of apps that that help you to do like sort of more advanced editing of pictures, but this is just good to know that this is already there in your phone at the moment. All right. And like I said, on iPhones, it'll be like a little bit different, but all of those features are in there as well. One more thing I want to show you that's just sort of like a quick tool here. All right, so I'm going to go here, down here where these 3 dots are again. So here, I just clicked on that. And this is the menu that comes up. I want to just show you a really quick tool that you may be helpful to you. I think sometimes it works better than others. This is like an automated thing where it says remaster picture. And what that does is it sort of automatically recalculates things like light and contrast and that sort of thing. Like it just does its own sort of like calculations about what would make this picture look ideal. And sometimes it's right and sometimes it's not. So like, you know, you can try this and then take it off again. Sometimes it works really well. Sometimes it's either doesn't look very different at all or it's not better. So, but it's worth trying. So if you hit this button that says remaster picture, it's going to take a second to sort of try and figure out what the best way of it looking would be. See, in this one, it's not hugely different, but it's a little. Okay, so if I drag it to the left here, you'll see the before picture. If I drag it to the right, you see the after. It's almost like they put a little sort of, almost like a little filter that blurs it a little bit on the after. It makes them look sort of like a old movie star, right? It's just real subtle. So if that's an effect that you're into, you know, you can save it like that. If it's not, then you just go back and it's the same as it was before. Again, it's all about sort of what look you're going for, what you want the picture to be like. So it's really up to you, but I just wanted to give you those couple of tools that can help you sort of play around with that, make the decisions that you want for each of your pictures.